He's not going to the Vikings. The Vikings don't even need him. They got Jordan Addison. They got Justin Jefferson. They're getting TJ Hawkinson back. The Chiefs do need him, but I don't think the Raiders are going to be trading him there.
Dude, it would be an all-time boner dumb move if the Raiders sent Davante to the Chiefs. And you know what, Tom? I'm 99% sure they won't, but there's 1% in me going, the Raiders could do that. They could. Mark Davis just hopped up on PF Chang's, pulls the trigger.
He's like, you know what?
In a drunken orange chicken and Mongolian beef high. Who knows?
It happens.
That would be the worst timing.
Why would you? I mean, I'm going to say it, and I'm so sorry, Jaguars fans, but I think some of you will agree. Why in God's name would you do that to Davante Adams? Just from a moral standpoint, don't send him there. Let's talk about Davante Adams. So Davante Adams, he had an interview with Kay Adams, and she asked, like, oh, because Antonio Pierce, the way it's even started is stupid, but whatever. Antonio Pierce liked a comment or something, right? Yeah. That said, like, Adams played his last snap as a Raider. And so Kay asked him, like, have you heard from the team? I'm sure they reached out, and he's like, no, I haven't heard from the team at all. There's been no communication with the team. And then I was like, oh, that's not so great. Not long after that, it came out that Davante Adams was like, yeah, I'd prefer to get traded. I would prefer to go. Now, this is not the first time this has happened with Davante Adams of being like, hey, I want to get out of Vegas. But do you think, first of all, let's get this out of the way. Do you think the Raiders pull the trigger here and go, let's capitalize on this now and try to get as much value as possible with the state of their offense? And they're like, if we could get some premium picks for this, maybe, it's going to help in future seasons.
Yeah. I think it's, do you remember, was it after week 1 or week 2 when like Antonio Pierce said like there's some guys out there making business decisions and we're going to make business? I'm wondering if he's talking about Davante Adams there. Like we all saw the stuff on receiver, right? The clips of Davante talking about how he's going to get killed if he's never been hit so much.
Yeah.
As a Raider. But we also had this whole thing about like the Raiders players like loving Antonio Pierce. That's why he's back. Max Crosby went to bat for him.
Sure.
But I just don't think whatever that relationship is with maybe the rest of the guys, I don't think Adams has that with Pierce, and I don't think they love each other is my takeaway. Also, why is a coach liking Instagram posts?
They wouldn't get rid of Garrett.
I don't want my fucking head coach liking anything on social media. Like, you get it with players being right, Tom? Like, players, it's part of what they do. They got to be on social media. Or they don't have to, but like a lot of guys try to build their brand. They're going to maybe start a YouTube channel, start a podcast, whatever. If you're an NFL head coach, that seems like something you don't want your head coach doing at all. Like, could you Belichick out there liking like anti-Tom Brady tweets or some shit back in the day? Like, that seems a little weird to me. And I'm not trying to like take a shot at Antonio Pierce, but that was odd.
Listen, Bill Belichick, when he was trash talking Danny Amendola, either did it to his face, right?
Yeah.
Or he used a burner account like everybody else. Perna got a fitty, by the way. Dude, Commanders, that would be so much fun. But talking about this now and this potential trade, there's two teams that are the front runners. And of course, the number one, I think, has to be the Jets, in which the Jets could definitely use them. However, I don't know if they want to continue going all in. They're going to have to restructure some deals. The Saints, going and play with Derek Carr again, which, Perna, the Saints have the opportunity to do the funniest thing ever. They trade for Davante Adams and they bench Derek Carr for Taysom Hill. It would be the funniest thing if it happened twice. If it happened twice and they're like, no, never mind after all that.
Yeah.
Where are your thoughts on the Davante Adams potential trade?
Yeah, I concluded I actually do want to see him go play with Aaron Rodgers again in New York. I don't think Rodgers necessarily deserves him, but I think you would see just a stark difference of what like a quarterback receiver relationship means in terms of like chemistry if Adams went back there. And so much of like what Rodgers does well is being able to look at his guy, say like, you know what we need to do here, and then he does that. Rodgers doesn't have that with his receivers right now, outside of Alan Lazard. Alan Lazard's like the only guy who knows what Rodgers wants.
But that's because they have that chemistry. And like you get Davante there, and then it's great. But that came
Garrett
from
Wilson becomes
years.
your third option for Rodgers.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think it would be fun. I would love to see him go to the Saints. I don't think the Saints really need him. They've got solid receivers there. But the hiccup here is Davante does not have a no trade clause. So the Raiders can send Davante Adams wherever they want, right?
Wherever they get the most value.
Yes. If they're smart, they won't send him to an AFC team.
Sure.
So I think that would also eliminate the Jets. Keeps the Saints alive. Bills don't have the money. The Buffalo Bills, they would have to do some finagling to make it work, I believe. The Josh Allen, please God, give Josh Allen Davante Adams. But, and I know this is not going to be a popular opinion, Dallas.
With what?
Brandon Cooks and a draft pick. Because the Raiders won a second, right? Brandon Cooks, already the most traded player in NFL history. Good enough to go to the Raiders. Make him.
That's correct.
Go up a little more. Could you imagine CeeDee Lamb and Davante Adams for Dak?
So he can overthrow them too?
Problems.
I'm sorry. Dak's a good player.
Problem.
Sure. But then they just like buy Micah Parsons. Because they're gonna have to restructure Davante's deal.
Well, that's the thing. Like the next 2 years of Adams' contract,
I love Davante.
They're not guaranteed, so it would be a restructure. It depends on where the Raiders send him. It also depends on what Davante's going to be willing to play for. Because he's still he's made his bag twice, right? He got $100+ million in that deal. I don't know how much he's already made. Depends on how much he wants per year.
Correct.
So.
Well, that's the thing too. Does he want to go back and play with Rodgers, or does he want to go play with Carr? That's one.
But are the Raiders going to grant him that?
Yeah,
I don't think it matters. I don't think they're going to do him a favor.
That's fair. I mean, the Saints already. I mean, cap space and stuff. But I think it's gonna. Again, you are 100% correct. It's gonna come down to who are the Raiders willing to trade him to, one, and what that value is. You know, a second round pick, I think, is fair, to be honest with you, just because of the type of caliber. You know, because Davante's a bit older. He is coming with a contract, but he is a really damn good receiver. And the Saints, while it makes sense for Davante Adams, I don't know if it makes all the sense for the Saints, to be honest with you. And what I mean by that is their defense is solid, don't get me wrong. I don't know if they become a Super Bowl team with Davante Adams. And I think like that's the only teams that are going to want to trade for Davante. It's like, hey, this window is open for us to go win a Super Bowl within the next like year or two. Just because Davante's a little bit older, it comes with that contract and you're going to give up some draft capital. So I think like you got to be ready to go now. And I just don't know if the Saints are at that level yet. You know, they'll be a more competitive team, of course, with Davante. Like the Jets, I could see them going all in and being like, hey, well, you know, not for Hassan Reddick, but going all in, you know, for Davante Adams potentially because it's going to make Aaron Rodgers happy and it's going to make that offense flow a little bit more.
Yeah. Maybe Rashid Shaheed. If you're the Saints, you send Rashid Shaheed and a 2 to the Raiders. It's hard to argue like Olave and Davante Adams for Derek Carr, you know, assuming like the run game is still good.
Carr also still got benched with Davante Adams on the roster. I mean, I don't know if he's going to get benched in New Orleans. And again, I'm not even saying he's playing like god awful.
But who benched Carr? Is fucking McDaniels.
It is McDaniels.
One of the dumbest head coaches of all time.
So a
guy who couldn't sniff a good quarterback just slapped him in the face.